If you saw my video yesterday, I was talking about major shortages hitting the U.S. and the potential that the economic collapse is going to rapidly get worse. We now have new information dating back to August, which shows that not only was I correct yesterday, but it's actually substantially worse than we realized. CNBC reporting a record 4.3 million workers quit their jobs in August, led by food and retail industries. 4.3 million. I can only guess as to what September's numbers will hold for us, but we are now in October, learning that in August, 4.3 million workers. They only added about 295,000 jobs. Abysmal. Last month, September's numbers show 195,000 jobs. Abysmal. It's getting worse. And now we have more data showing how the American people feel about this. Real Clear Politics aggregate approval rating for Joe Biden has massively spiked in disapproval. Shocking. The interesting thing is that when Donald Trump was being impeached, he saw all-time high approval. It's really weird, isn't it? Well, right now, Joe Biden is facing no such impeachment. He is failing as the president of these United States. Everything is getting worse. I can only assume that Democrats just don't care, and they're just going to sit it out. Maybe they assume that they lost so much in Congress in 2020, it's a wasted effort to try and defend the House for 2022. Republicans are going to sweep in, so they're just sitting back saying, we lost this one already. I don't know for sure, but seeing Joe Biden get absolutely roasted, criticized, attacked, his support is dropping among every single demographic. Among the black community, down from 85% to 67%, according to Pew. And you know what? Everyone is starting to realize this guy, he's got nothing. But my friends, you all knew it. I mean, most of you, right? When you anti-elect someone, you get nothing. Joe Biden is nothing. He is a nothing president. He has no real cabinet, no real administration. The dude can barely talk straight. And now we got a video of Kamala Harris hiring child actors, apparently, to make it seem like she's working. But nah, not really. It's just weird, creepy simulacrum. They're not actually doing anything. And the strange thing on top of it is Joe Biden doing these sound stage White House presentations. What is going on? I don't know. I can't see the future. I don't know what I don't know. I just know that something is busted, and regular Americans are starting to realize it. Will they realize it soon enough? No, maybe it's already too late. Maybe they needed to realize it last year. Now, I'll admit it was under Donald Trump. We had a bad year of COVID crisis. But for the most part, it was governors who were shutting things down. Donald Trump still could have taken some major actions to do better in terms of guiding the economy. And I'm talking about in direct contradiction with what the Democrats had been doing. Joe Biden, of course, is doing exactly what we expected the Democratic Party to do. When all these Democratic governors were quite literally killing old people in nursing homes, destroying the economy, people said, I'm going to vote for that for the federal level. And now we have Joe Biden carrying out the same economic catastrophe nationwide. And it's going to get worse. You know, look, I don't know for sure if it will get absolutely worse. My opinion is that it will, because I see no sign of de-escalation. Yesterday, I'm talking about shortages. We are now learning 4.3 million people quit their jobs in August, record-breaking. The economy is in free fall. Please, I hope you are paying attention. But let's talk about all this data. Before we get started, head over to TimCast.com, become a member, and you'll get access to exclusive members-only segments of the TimCast IRL podcast, as well as our other shows, soon to have members-only content as well, Tales from the Inverted World. Now we're off to the races with Tales from the Inverted World, but rest assured, it will be investigations on the ground, scary stories, ghosts, murders, mysteries, and things like that. And we're getting there. We're getting there. But there will be some stories. I mean, these are Tales from the Inverted World. It's a show about the underbelly of the universe, the weird, the mysterious, the creepy. There's a lot coming. But don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share the show with your friends. As a member, you're also helping support our journalists who are writing stories every single day. We're working on a newsletter. Thank you all for being members. Here's the first news and why Joe Biden's approval rating likely will tank even further now that this story just broke. From CNBC, a record 4.3 million workers quit their jobs in August, led by food and retail industries. CNBC reports quits hit a new series high going back to December 2000. As 4.3 million workers left their job, the quits rate rose to 2.9%, an increase of 242,000 from the previous month, which saw a rate of 2.7%, according to the department's job openings and labor turnover survey. The rate is the highest in a data series that goes back to December 2000. Quits have been seen historically as a level of confidence from workers who feel they are secure in finding employment elsewhere. Though labor dynamics have changed during COVID-19 crisis, workers have left their jobs because of health concerns, childcare issues unique to the pandemic circumstances. I just don't believe you. A total of 892,000 workers in the food service and accommodation industries left their jobs, while 721,000 retail workers departed, along with 534,000 in healthcare and social assistance. What is happening? This is insane. Medical workers are quitting their jobs. The vaccine mandates were being announced around this time. I can only imagine that when we get the data from September and into October, it will be apocalyptic. Look at what's happening with Southwest Airlines. We now have the CEO apparently saying, we're looking into absenteeism. Interesting. Absenteeism. Sounds like people aren't showing up for work for some reason. They say job openings also declined sharply in August. Employment vacancies fell to 10.44 million, down from July's upwardly revised 11.1 million, according to the department's job openings and labor turnover survey. Federal Reserve officials with JOLTS report closely for with the JOLTS report closely for signs of slack in the labor market. They're watching the JOLTS report closely for signs of slack in the labor market. Let me just point out, we have record high job openings, record low job openings being filled, record high resignations. We know Microsoft claimed the great resignation was coming, and it is here before us. Where are these people and how are they getting money? I mean, maybe people have decided to live a simpler life and they're eating beans. Well, I'll tell you this. America is an overweight country, so maybe it's not all bad, but let's be real. This means bad news for everybody across the board. They're going to say the jobs opening rate as a percentage of the workforce fell to 6.6% in August from 7% in July. The level was just 4.4% a year ago as the economy was still struggling to escape the COVID downturn. Hires declined by 439,000 for a month in which non-farm payrolls increased by 366,000. The hires rate fell to 4.3 from 4.6. We get it. The JOLTS data runs a month behind the non-farm payrolls report, but still carries weight at the Fed. Central bank officials are mulling whether to begin pulling back the unprecedented policy help they provided during the pandemic and are expected later this year to slow monthly bond purchases. However, Fed officials have said they will not begin increasing interest rates until the labor market firms up. 4.3 million workers quit their jobs in August. We have this from the Washington Examiner, who, by the way, I recently learned has a vaccine mandate and are hypocrites. Questions arise over vaccine mandate enforcement as multiple industries suffer. Now, it's important to point out that Joe Biden's 100-employee rule doesn't actually exist yet. It's in the plan, and OSHA hasn't actually implemented, nor do I think they can without an act of Congress, but we'll see. The Examiner points out the airline industry is severely hurting. Many other industries are severely hurting. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she'll bring in the National Guard if she needs to, and you know what? It's happening elsewhere. Let me read the story from the Boston Globe. They say, facing staffing shortages, Baker activates Massachusetts National Guard to assist with COVID-19 testing in public schools. In response to staffing shortages caused COVID-19 testing delays in Massachusetts school districts, Governor Charlie Baker activated up to 200 members of the National Guard on Tuesday to assist with testing in public K-12 schools, according to an administration spokesperson. You ready for what comes next? The National Guard is being deployed in many instances where the private sector can't maintain. People are outraged. People are quitting their jobs. The economy is falling apart. And when it does, and critical infrastructure is crippled, what's going to happen? The government will bring in National Guard to do these jobs, as we are seeing right here. There you go. How long can we withstand something like that until we end up with like full-blown communism, military working in the private sector? I mean, that's what's happening, right? Check this out. CNN reports only 235,000 jobs were added in August, while 4.3 million were lost. We have this story from September, 194,000, that's a correction, 194,000 jobs in September. How many people quit in September? Oh, we're going to find out. And now we have this. You know, I'm not a big fan of individual polls. I like aggregates better, but I'll use individual polls sometimes. President Biden's job approval. Interestingly, we are seeing a massive spike in disapproval and a major drop in approval. Currently, Joe Biden sits at an aggregate disapproval of 52.3%, and his approval is at 43%. Strangely, February of 2020, when all of this crazy COVID stuff was starting to kick up, they were trying to impeach Donald Trump, and Gallup had Donald Trump's approval at 49%, higher than the highest levels in all of his presidency. That's interesting. Again, that's not the aggregate, and Joe Biden's is the aggregate. I'm not, we'll point that out, and then you can just come to whatever conclusion you'd like. But right now, Joe Biden's approval is at 43%. Joe Biden. Let's see. Do they have Gallup on this list? Let's see where Gallup has Joe Biden on this list. The last poll from Gallup from the beginning of September, 43% approval, 53% disapproval. Now that I find absolutely fascinating. They don't have any other more recent Gallup? No, I guess not. So if we go one for one, right now, Joe Biden's approval rating is lower than when Donald Trump was being impeached. That's insane. And you can, wow, Republicans are worthless, aren't they? It's I love the analogy, the Washington Generals versus the Harlem Globetrotters. Take a look at this from the Pew Research Center, September 23rd, 2021. Views of Biden and congressional leaders. Over the past several months, Joe Biden's approval rating has dipped among most demographics and political groups. And this is, again, September 23rd. Today, 44% of U.S. adults overall say they approve of the way he's handling his job, down from 55% in July. Biden's job approval rating drops among most groups, including Democrats. Let's zoom in here. Check this out. In total, from 55 to 44. Among men, from 53 to 44. Women, 57 to 45. Now, here's what's interesting. Among black voters, 85% approval in July, falling to 67% approval in September. Hispanic nation, it is down across the board. There are no gains among any demographic at all. Joe Biden has failed this country. It was obvious to all of us who voted against him that this would be the case. And it was so frustrating to see so many just stupid people for tribal reasons saying, Jimmy Kimmel told me to vote for Joe Biden, so I will. And now we're sitting here watching this. If there's one thing I can say of Donald Trump, for all his mistakes, the economy was roaring in 2019. Trump was doing things to bring back jobs in manufacturing, and now it is being ripped out from underneath us. Now, as I mentioned, the Republicans seem to be rather worthless, but for now, they are ripping Biden over bad jobs report and warning of an economic crisis. The New York Post reports. Congressional Republicans insisted Friday that the disappointing September jobs report showed that President Biden's economic plan was not working. President Biden's delusions have suggested for months his economic plan is working, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tweeted Friday. Anyone who saw today's jobs report knows it's failing. Democrats have turned what should have been an economic resurgence coming out of the pandemic into an economic crisis. U.S. employers added just 194,000 jobs in September, fewer than the 336 in August and the fewest since December of last year. This we know. Biden attempted to put a positive spin on the worst jobs report of his administration, pointing to a decline in the unemployment rate. It's fascinating. How is the unemployment rate going down? If we have 4.3 million resignations, that's right. People who choose to quit won't be counted in that, will they? Because they're not actively looking for work, or people are giving up on the labor market altogether. Kevin Brady, a rep from Texas, the top Republican on the House Ways and Means Committee, said the report was more dreadful news for America's slowing recovery, for Main Street businesses struggling to find workers, and for families whose paychecks just can't keep up with higher prices. President Biden is now a whopping 944,000 jobs short of what he promised from his last stimulus, and worse, has lost the confidence of the American people to lead the economy. If this were a football team with this losing record, the coach would be searching for a new job at this point. But this doesn't take into consideration people quitting their jobs. 4.3 million. I tracked the number over the past few months. I think it was like April, May, and June, and it was like 1 million per month. So yeah, things were getting bad, and now they're getting worse. And you think Joe Biden's vaccine mandate will solve this? You have to be incredibly naive. Quote, the September jobs report is the worst of Joe Biden's presidency, tweeted Rep. Tom Rice, another member of the Ways and Means Committee. Incentivizing Americans to stay out of the workforce is having a drastic effect on our economy. Joe Biden economics at work, tweeted Josh Hawley. Fewer jobs, less work, higher inflation. Chuck Grassley tweeted that the report was disappointing and argued the best way to grow the economy was for the government to get out of the way and stop spending and feeding already out of control inflation. Maybe it's time to cut back on the insane restrictions and ban these vaccine mandates. A new Quinnipiac University poll out this week showed that just 39% of Americans approve of Biden's handling of the economy, while 55% disapprove. In the same poll, a mere 29% of America puts the state of the U.S. economy in excellent or good condition, while 69% of the economy was doing not so good or poor. Nancy Pelosi, meanwhile, took a different track, arguing the September jobs report represented additional proof of the need for Democrats' job-creating Build Back Better agenda. Okay, if someone tells you they're going to fix the problem, let's say you get a leaky toilet, and then some guy comes in and says, I will fix your toilet. And you decide because the other plumber you hired was a loudmouth, potty mouth, you're going to hire these other people who come in with a hammer and start bashing the toilet, breaking it. And you're like, well, the toilet's breaking. It's getting worse. The water's starting to leak all over the place. And they say, no, don't worry. We're going to fix it. This is good news, actually. The plumber says, actually, this is good news. You know, it's always darkest before the dawn. This is what we got to do. Maybe you'll be like, at least when the other guy was here with a potty mouth, he got my toilet working again. But these people voted for it. And now we all have to suffer. They say Democratic lawmakers are currently attempting to hammer out the final form of a $3.5 trillion social spending bill that they will attempt to pass without Republican support, even as a bipartisan $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill languishes before the House after passing the Senate in August. Some House Democratic centrists have balked at the size of the larger measure. Manchin and Sinema, as you know, are saying, no, we don't support this. And what do we get? What do we get? This is under Democratic leadership. The Republicans are the Republicans are the Washington Generals to the Democrats' Harlem Globetrotters. From the New York Times, opinion. We are Republicans. There's only one way to save our party from pro-Trump extremists. That's right. Advocating for the election of Democrats. Arsonists who are burning the system to the ground. And these people are like, we hate you so much that we will advocate for your destruction and the collapse of your livelihood and your economy and your future. They hate you so much that they would demand everyone burn it all down. The Republican Party, McConnell, McCarthy, Lindsey Graham, whatever, they do nothing but sit back and watch as the fire engulfs your home. The Democrats set the fire, of course, and then you get these New York Times establishment Republicans saying, no, the burning down of your home is a good thing. You losing your job, you being unable to buy food for your family, and you told me that you were going to eschew politics in favor of getting food for your kids, and look where it brings you. A feckless Republican Party advocating for the destruction, cheering on the Democrats as they burn it all to the ground. And they say, no. You know, Joe Biden's been president for, just around 9 months or so, but it's still your fault. It's still, he inherited a broken administration. The economy was amazing in 2019. The best numbers of our lives, says Jim Cramer. And ever since COVID started, which I'm not going to blame the Democrats for, these things happen. Unless maybe you want to blame Fauci and lab leak turns out to be true. Ever since then, things have gotten worse. But it wasn't Donald Trump who destroyed the economy. It was governors for the most part. Fortunately, Trump didn't take strong enough actions to try and do anything to stop it. Because he theoretically could have done something, but 9th and 10th Amendments, my friends. Take a look at what you have from the New York Times. After Donald Trump's defeat, there was a measure of hope among Republicans who opposed him that control of the party would be up for grabs, and that conservative pragmatists could take it back. But it's become obvious that political extremists maintain a vice-like grip on the national and state parties and the process for fielding and championing House and Senate candidates in next year's elections. Rational Republicans are losing the party civil war. And the only near-term way to battle pro-Trump extremists is for all of us to team up on key races and overarching political goals with our longtime political opponents, the Democrats. I love it. Right now, the cultural institutions, universities, the media, industry, politics are completely controlled by Democrats and the establishment left. And yet, after watching these people in power burn it all to the ground, the Republicans here have the nerve to say it's actually the Republicans' fault the whole time. You'd have to be a special kind of stupid to believe this. When Donald Trump was president, establishment Republicans in 2016 to 18, well, throughout 18, did nothing. In fact, they sided against Trump on Russiagate, saying, we should look into this. The Washington Generals. You get the reference, right? The generals just lose all the time and the Harlem Globetrotters just do tricks. And now here we are. All evidence shows that the establishment is in control. The Democrats are in control, and they have broken everything. How could anyone possibly believe it is the fault of the Republicans, who are doing literally nothing? It's amazing. Look at this. They say, this year we joined more than 150 conservatives, including former governors, senators, congressmen, cabinet secretaries, and party leaders, in calling for the Republican Party to divorce itself from Trumpism, or else lose our support, perhaps with us forming a new political party. Oh, please do. Please. Rather than return to founding ideals, Republican leaders in the House and in many states have now turned belief into conspiracy theories and lies about stolen elections into a litmus test for membership and running for office. I don't care about any of that because the Republicans have no institutional authority and are doing nothing. They're worthless. The last thing we need to do, however, is empower the party that is holding the reins, who are destroying everything. But sure, blame the Republicans, which brings me to grocery store shelves aren't going back to normal this year. The new normal. It's getting worse every day. And it's remarkable that there is clearly leadership that controls what's happening. And somehow the Democrats find a way to blame Republicans for everything. This is what you get under Joe Biden. CNN says, if you hoped grocery stores this fall and winter would look like they did in the before times, with limitless options stretching out before you in the snack, drink, candy, and frozen food aisle, get ready for some disappointing news. The before times, all capitalized. Many of the country's biggest food makers are telling grocers that they will have limited quantities of a number of their products, including Rice Krispie Treats, Sour Patch Kids, and some Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavors. McCormick Gourmet Spices and Marie Callender's pot pies because of labor, commodity, and transportation constraints throttling supply chains, according to emails viewed by CNN and interviews with grocers. Some suppliers are also telling grocers to cancel their promotions of these items and more over the holidays, so products won't disappear from store shelves as quickly. These latest limits mean that stores won't have all the things for all customers leading into the holidays, and shoppers may not be able to find some of their favorite products, flavors of niche items. But shoppers will still have plenty of options, including most of these companies' core products, which they are prioritizing over items in less demand. Meaning, for instance, if you're a big fan of Ben & Jerry's popular fish food, you shouldn't have a problem. But the company's less well-known cold brew caramel latte might be harder to find. Major food and consumer product manufacturers being of short supply on some items will be a challenge in the grocery industry in the final months of the year, said Stuart Howard, vice president of merchandising at Bristol Farms in California. Suppliers are warning the company of potential shortages of foods, glass jars, and packaging containers. In response, Bristol Farms is working to bring inventory earlier than any other holiday ever. This is what you get. I can only imagine it will get worse. It bears repeating. I know you said, Tim, you tell me it gets worse all the time. Yeah, when I told you it was going to get worse 6 months ago and then it got worse, what did you think? When I told you it was going to get worse 5 months ago and 4 months ago, and I keep saying it, someone tweeted, Tim Pool stating that the escalation is not stopping, but accelerating is starting to seem more reasonable by the minute. I saw it was something like that. Like, Tim Pool, like the escalation, the crisis before us, the political conflict, the shortages. There is absolutely no reason to suspect it will reverse course. Is there anything we can see? Look, I didn't even know about the 4.3 million resignations yesterday when I said, the shortages are getting worse and they're warning you now to do your Christmas shopping in October. Otherwise, you won't be able to get anything for your kids, for your friends, for your family. And I didn't even know about the near million jobs lost in retail, the 4.3 million total. But I did say this a while ago. when you see the stores, the fast food chains saying everybody quits, do you not think that people are quitting every other job? That it's only fast food? It's not. It's everything. And if you don't make stuff, you don't get stuff. You know, I've had a front row seat to what's been going on because we've been trying to do a lot of construction for new projects for TimCast.com. We announced Chicken City, a year ago? Well, almost a year, 10 months ago, maybe. We got these chickens and we're going to live stream them 24/7 and create a channel of just watching the chickens. And we're going to make t-shirts of each chicken and so much drama unfolding. Katarina is being attacked by the other chickens. We may have to pull her out of the show. She's being voted out of Chicken City. So we wanted to get this built 10 months ago, and it was near impossible to find the labor to do it. We have so much that needs to be done in terms of construction. We just finished the new studio. It is not easy, and there are limited people willing to work. And you know what? It's extremely expensive. What's happening is not just in the U.S., my friends. So we can blame Joe Biden. I certainly think that's important. But take a look at this story from Newsweek. UK reports record 1.2 million job openings as group says nation has worker shortage of 900,000. How is this happening everywhere? It's almost like there's a huge, some kind of like restructuring or a grandiose reformat or a great reset happening before our very eyes. And that when all of these countries said build back better, they meant it. But let's take a critical look at what they just said on CNN. Sour Patch Kids? I like Sour Patch Kids. I don't eat them anymore. They're delicious candy, but I don't eat candy anymore. And that's good. Just one day I just started thinking, I got to stop eating the garbage. I'm 35. So I've been eating mostly meats and cheeses, doing keto and vegetables and things like that, cutting out breads and sugars for the most part. I feel better than ever. Maybe it's time to be an adult. But I think about what they're doing and what people like Bloomberg's ideals are. Bloomberg said he wanted to tax the poor because they're too stupid not to buy soda. Well, I'll tell you this. Soda is still widely available. You go to the casino and it's free, actually. They got a fountain drink station. I don't drink soda. I don't. I was drinking a little bit before, but nah, I just totally gone. I drink water now. That's it. Just water. Maybe unsweet iced tea because, it's delicious. When I hear that from Bloomberg and then I see Build Back Better and I see what's happening from Biden's policies, I think they want this. When people like Bloomberg say poor people are too stupid to know what's best for them, so you got to tax them so you control what they do, this seems to be the manifestation of that ideology. Joe Biden's policies are crippling industry. We're no longer going to have ice creams. We're going to have much less. Interesting. Do we really need 50 varieties of vanilla ice cream? No, probably not. Do we need ice cream? Yeah, probably not. But people are allowed to make it if they want it. And that's where things get interesting. Can we, as a human species, sustain ourselves on the mass production and extraction of resources for things like ice cream? I don't know. Look, I know there's a lot of people on the right that don't believe in climate change. I think we as humans, whatever you want to call it, are having serious negative impacts on the climate, on the environment in general. From windshield phenomenon, bug population collapse, colony collapse disorder, ocean dead zones, the garbage trash gyres in the oceans. I mean, we are certainly doing a number on this planet. I believe that we need to be a smarter, more rational and reasonable people. Instead, what we're getting is despotism. And I think what you're seeing is very much, it's almost like Kingsman, where the bad guy, played by Sam Jackson, believes that global warming is going to destroy humanity, so he wants to cull humanity. I don't know about that's movie-esque, but it certainly does seem like people like Bloomberg and Bill Gates know there's too many problems, but they've decided to take it upon themselves through coercion and deception and force to do what they deem to be morally correct. The problem? No single human can see it all. What we really need is, if truly facing these problems, which I think we are, rational reforms, conversations. But I suppose it's impossible because of political tribalism, in which case people with power will say, enough, we're going to do whatever we want. Here's all I can say. The best advice I can give you is homesteading to the best of your abilities. Get a place in the middle of nowhere. Apparently there's loans you can get from the USDA to buy a rural house. get satellite connection. Satellite internet's actually really good right now. We've actually done the live stream, TimCast IRL, over satellite before with relatively almost no issues. I say almost no because it gets grainy sometimes. We get 5 megabits up. We only needed 2 for a 720 broadcast. Now we're doing like 10 megabits up because we just upgraded to 1080p. We don't necessarily need to be broadcasting that high, but I think, we need to look at what's going on, and regardless of any theories about who or why or what, we can say this: Joe Biden has failed us. The American people know it. And if you know it in your heart of hearts that his failure is happening and going to get worse, then you need to take action to be responsible for yourselves. You can't wait for someone to come and save you. For the time being, I think the writing is on the wall. And I think moving forward, we are going to see the September jobs report, more resignations. I think we're going to see even more. So it means it's already happened. What does that mean for you and your family? Are you still in a city? Good luck. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.